Everybody, I will now gavel. Legislative day number 13 will now come to order. Please pause for a moment of silent meditation, especially as we send our hearts and prayers out to the victims of the shooting in Illinois. And I will call upon Councilwoman Bevins to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let me stand and find a flag. Oh, you got one, Julia.
Here's one.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Councilwoman Bevins.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to approve the journal for the meeting of June 6th?
I'll move it.
There a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. The journal is approved. Enrollment of bills. Bills 42-22, 43-22, 44-22, 45-22, 46-22 were passed by the council, signed by the executive, and hereby enrolled. Mr. Secretary, will you now read all bills for introduction?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Good evening. The first bill for introduction is Bill 41-22, notification of development. Wait a minute. I'm one step ahead. Bill 48-22, current expense budget continuum of care. Next is Bill 49-22, current expense budget state DHCD ERAP 2 is the acronym. Bill 50-22, opioid abatement fund. Bill 51-22, sponsored by Councilman Catch, development, review, and approval process, limited exemptions. And finally, for introduction, Bill 52-22, Councilman Marks, zoning regulations, changeable copy signs.
Okay. Council will now consider all bills for final reading and vote. Mr. Secretary, first bill, please.
First is Bill 41-22, notification of development fee waiver.
Okay. Mr. Benjamin?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. As I said last week at the work session, this bill is an issue of notification. Under the current law, the county administrative officer is only required to notify the county council before changing a fee amount that's established in code. The code currently does not require the county administrative officer to notify the council before changing a fee amount that's not established in the code. Under current law, certain development fee amounts are not established in the code, and currently the council has no oversight of development fee amounts not established by code. Furthermore, there is currently no requirement for the county administrative officer to report to or notify the council if the development fee amount is not established in the code. And so this bill establishes a process for the county administrative officer to notify the county council in the event a request is made to waive a development fee amount for a fee that's not established in the code. The bill would require the county administrative officer to provide the county council a 45-day letter notifying the council of any request for waiver of any development fee amount except the development impact fee, which may not be waived since development impact fees are established under the code. Proposed legislation provides transparency and clarity and gives the council oversight it currently does not have. And it also specifies the criteria to be used in considering a request for a development fee waiver. I believe that Madam CAO may have additional comment this evening. So with that, I would turn the floor over to Madam CAO with your permission, Mr. Chair.
All right. Ms. Rogers?
Good evening, Mr. Chair, and thank you. And to council members, as we've talked about, this bill truly is what I call the sunlight bill to be able to share formally with the council proposed fee waivers for specific projects that are clearly funded with government funds, whether it's federal, state, or local funding. And it has impact. That is a criteria that all projects must meet, and that it has positive impact on the community, or it is in a area designated as blighted, or would be eligible for community development block grant funds. We want to thank the council for your willingness to learn more about the bill and any amendments that you bring forward as discussed. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. I know it's been some extensive testimony and work done on this subject, but I believe that there are a few amendments.
There are, Mr. Chairman. There is the first set of amendments that is sponsored by the administration or by the chair at the request of the administration. Would you like me to go over those?
Please.
Okay. There are some technical and some a little more substantive. First of all, the proposed amendments would change the name of the bill to include from just notification of development fee waiver to notification of development fee waiver for government funded qualifying projects. The amendments would also change the section nomenclature for 32.4.111 of the county code, which is just titled fees at the moment, to fees, waiver for qualifying projects. And then more substantive is that the amendments would propose criteria in apply in considering a request for a fee waiver, which would be the following. One, whether the developer is a nonprofit or for-profit entity and the development project is to be funded wholly or in part by federal, state, and or local government resources, including grants, loans, or other economic incentives. So that would be one factor. And then a choice of either whether the development project will be located in an economically disadvantaged community, a blighted area, or an area targeted to benefit from community development block grant funds, or whether the development project would positively impact the community's health, well-being, quality of life, environment, or overall sustainability. So those would be the criteria to be applied. There would also be, instead of a 14-day notice that was originally in the bill, there would be instead a 45-day notice in which the council would be notified and could schedule the fee waiver request for consideration at a legislative meeting if the council deemed that to be appropriate. And then finally, instead of taking effect on July 1, which of course has passed, it will take, if passed, it will take effect 45 days after its enactment.
Okay, I did have one question on the motion. I know one of the things that I had suggested was certainly okay with the extension of time. The only issue is whether a person pays or not pay. In most cases, this fee is not going to be the determining factor in whether they proceed or not. I guess what I don't want to happen is nothing happens while we wait for 45 days. I would like for us to move forward on the 45 days. And if they have to pay the fee, they pay the fee. If they get the waiver, they get the waiver. But us not wait for 45 days before, you know what I mean? Let's not slow the project down for 45 days while we decide whether they pay a fee.
Well, the only response I would say to that, and I would certainly defer to Mr. Benjamin on the merits, is the current law for fees that is in, I believe, Article 3, subsection 1, I think it's 202, does give the council a 45-day notice. And I think that is why the administration inserted 45 days for this particular section. But, and Mr. Benjamin can correct me if I'm wrong.
No, that is correct.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the amendments to Bill 41-22?
I'll move it.
Second,
Mr. Secretary, please call a roll on the amendments to Bill 41-22.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Catch,
Aye.
Mr. Marks,
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall,
Aye.
Mr. Jones, I'm sorry, Mr. Patoka,
Aye.
Mr. Quirk.
Aye. Okay, you're trying to get me to vote early and often. But are there any questions or comments from the members concerning the bill or the amendment?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Councilman Randall? Oh, no,
Okay.
Councilman Patoka?
Thank you. Just for the sake of clarity, this is not on the amendment, but on the bill. And I just want to make sure I'm procedurally at the right point of discussion. So on the bill itself, just to be clear, if the council were to vote against this bill, then the county administrative officer could waive a fee and the council would be unaware of that. Is that correct?
So,
That is correct. That's the reason why we want the bill to be able to notify, have it be a requirement to notify, because I won't always be sitting in this chair.
Correct. And I think that's why, Ms. Rogers, you described this bill as a sunlight bill, because none of us are here indefinitely. And so the guidelines and regulations that we put forward are not for the individuals that are here, but for the organization and the people that we represent. The other thing I wanted to be clear on, and we talked about operating procedures, is in areas that might be designated as a food desert. And we use every tool that we might have available to us to find someone who might be interested in opening a market, let's say, for example, in this case, and bringing fresh fruits and vegetables and other food items in what may have an area that may have been a food desert or designated as a food desert or an area of food insecurity. Would this be a tool to create incentives so that we might find somebody to be interested in commerce in an area that may not have had commerce taking place in some time?
Yes, sir. As a matter of fact, Councilmember Patoka, we did reflect that very language in the standard operating procedure and the updated procedure, which we forwarded.
Thank you. And also, if we were trying to stimulate development, let's say in an inner beltway neighborhood, formerly known as community conservation areas, would this be another tool that we could use to incentivize development in those areas?
Yes, so that could be considered. We also added language of inner beltway communities as an example in the standard operating procedures. But we would also note that more than likely that an area like that you're describing would more than likely be eligible for community development block grant funding consideration in terms of an area, what it was defined as. So that would make it eligible based on the criteria if there was a project that was funded with government funds.
So essentially, it broadens that definition, is my understanding.
Well, you got to start with the base, whether the project is going to be funded partially or fully with federal, state, local, or other incentives that's in that first criteria. That's a criteria that must be met by all projects.
But sometimes we do, in many cases, we provide some level of government subsidy to create a desirable development in an area that might not ordinarily have that.
Yes, the Department of Workforce and Economic Development does that to try to stimulate and motivate prospective entities to either build or support a project. Yes, sir, I would say yes, because if it's going to be government funded partially or fully, then it can be considered.
Okay, and I want to thank you, Ms. Rogers. You and I have had extensive discussion on this. And I just wanted to make it clear, based on the discussions you and I have had, and I think some of the other members have had, what we're actually voting on here. So I just want to thank you for the time you spent on this, and appreciate your efforts.
Thank you, sir.
I just wanted to add, Mr. Patoka, with regard to your first question about the fee, remember, just so it's clear, we're talking about fees that are not established.
In the code.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Benjamin, for that clarity.
Certainly.
Okay, Mr. Secretary, is there another set of amendments?
There is, Mr. Chairman. The next set of amendments before you is offered by Councilman Quirk. There are several components to that, if I may. The first would require that a request for a fee waiver be in writing. The second is that the notice that is required to be sent to the county council shall set forth the amount of the fee waiver request and shall include all documentation submitted in support of the request. And then finally, at the same time it is forwarded to the county council, the notice and the supporting documentation shall also be posted for 45 days, the same amount of time, on the county's website.
Okay. Like to add anything, Councilman Quirk?
No, I'll just move it.
It's been moved by Councilman Quirk. I'll second it. Mr. Secretary, call the roll on the, any questions or comments from any amendments on the amendment?
I'll second the amendment.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded twice. Call the roll, Mr. Secretary.
Yes, sir. Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Quirk,
Aye.
Mr. Patoka,
Aye.
Mr. Catch,
Aye.
Mr. Marks,
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall.
Aye.
The ayes have it. The amendment to Bill 41-22 is passed, or the second set. Are there any questions, comments from the members concerning the bill or the amendment? Or the bill as amended? Mr. Secretary, let me see. Is there a motion to approve the bill as amended?
So moved. Second.
Been moved?
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been seconded? Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Bill 41-22 as amended.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Quirk,
Aye.
Mr. Patoka,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall,
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins,
Aye.
Mr. Marks,
Aye.
Mr. Catch.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Bill 41-22 as amended is passed. The council will now consider all fiscal matters. Extensive testimony was taken at the council's work session on June 28th.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, we have one more bill.
We have one more bill?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Bill 47-22. This measure is sponsored by Councilwoman Bevins, entitled Zoning Regulations, Uses Permitted in the BM or Business Major Zone.
Thank you, Mr. Boswick.
Yes, ma'am.
Would you mind me reading the technical part of it, and then I'll explain to my colleagues why the bill's necessary?
Yes, ma'am. In the BM zone, there are already, I believe, yes. In the BM zone, new car sales are permitted in the BM zone, subject to certain conditions. And what Bill 47 would do is to amend this by right use of a new automobile sales facility that is permitted in the BM zone to also allow a used automobile sales facility, again, with certain conditions. The used facility could only be located within 1 mile of the Middle River Design Review Panel area. And as applied to both uses, the facilities may have an adjoining outdoor sales area, provided that dismantled or junked cars unfit for operation on the highway may not be stored outdoors in any event.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. The owners of this property have been good stewards of the property for many, many, many years and have been really waiting for the final extension of Campbell Boulevard. There's only about a block left and it's still called Moore's Lane. As it is finished, it will be the last of Campbell Boulevard. And when that happens, there will be major improvements at Campbell Boulevard. We've had land acquisitions happening for probably the last 3 years, trying to acquire the land that we need to widen the road. And then there will be lanes that will be able to turn both left and right onto Philadelphia Road, which then lead to Campbell Boulevard in the big retail hub of White Marsh. Why I was so careful about saying no junk cars on the outside is because we've had some pretty bad characters on Route 40, anywhere between the city line and probably the Harford County line, that, they just have junk cars sitting outside and people come and you get them for parts and, they're not registered and they're just a blight to the community. And I wanted to make sure that wasn't going to happen. Auto Nation is a very reputable car dealership, and I look forward to them being the first business to come on that corner, as this will certainly be all new development eventually. So I hope and welcome your support.
Thank you, Councilwoman Bevins. Any questions or comments from the members? Is there a motion to approve Bill 47-22?
I'll move it.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on Bill 47-22.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins,
Aye.
Mr. Catch,
Aye.
Mr. Patoka,
Aye.
Mr. Marks,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall,
Aye.
Mr. Quirk.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Ayes have it. Bill 47-22 is approved. The chair will now consider all fiscal matters. Extensive testimony was taken at the council work session on June 28th. The witnesses who testified at the work session is available to restate their testimony if needed. I'll now call upon the secretary to read the cover letter for fiscal matters 1 through 7.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Fiscal matter 1 is a contract with Bel Air Auto Auction Incorporated, auctioneering and simulcasting services. Fiscal matter 2 is an amendment to contract with the Electric Motor Repair Company. Fiscal matter 3 is amendment number 2 to a contract with Aramark Correctional Services, LLC. Fiscal matter 4 is a contract with the Baltimore County Revenue Authority. Fiscal matter 5 is a contract with Lion Total Care Incorporated. Fiscal matter 6 is a lease with Morningstar Baptist Church of Baltimore County. And fiscal matter 7 is a budget appropriation transfer, or BAT, with the Baltimore County Public Schools, number 22-08.
Any questions or comments from the members?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Councilman Patoka.
Just a question on fiscal matter 5 related to, I think it's Lions Company, in terms of the cleaning of turnout gear. Is there and I wish I had asked this during the work session, is there a time frame in which that gear the time it will take to get that gear clean and get it back in use? Do we have a time frame associated with that?
I don't know if the chief is here to answer the question, but normally they can turn it around in 24 hours. Depends on if there is repairs that have to be made to the gear. If there's repairs, it may take a little longer.
Good evening,
Okay.
everyone. Councilman Patoka, this is Chief Rund, and Councilman Jones is exactly right. that typically there is a turnaround time of 24 hours, depending on, obviously with the way our industry is going now, with the backup of everything, we obviously have that come into play. But I also want to make it very clear that we have replacement gear for our personnel when it does need to be sent out for cleaning or repair or any issues whatsoever, in addition to many, many, many washers and dryers that are readily available within the county now. So that also assists as well for that concern with turnaround time, sir.
Okay, well, 24 hours sounds pretty good, and that in combination with assets we already have for cleaning of turnout gear. I just wanted to be sure that that we're in an acceptable time frame. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Happy to help.
Thank you. Are there any additional questions or comments on the fiscal matter?
Chairman,
Yes, Councilman Marks.
thank you. I didn't want it to pass without a comment. It appears we're probably on the verge of passing the school system's bat. I raised two issues at the work session. The first was the school bus safety, the fact that the Maryland Department of Transportation has released an audit of problems with the school bus program, and I thought we should have better updates on that. And secondly, we spoke with Dr. Williams on June 16th, and Dr. Williams committed to us that there would be regular meetings with the county council or our staff in dealing with the school bus driver situation. It is now July 5th, so I'm hoping that we will have an update shortly because the school year is approaching. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman. Councilman Marks, Councilman Quirk.
Yeah, I just couldn't agree more with Councilman Marks. Quite a while ago, the county council would have quarterly meetings with past superintendents, and like clockwork, like they were just scheduled, they happened. I felt like we had exceptionally good and productive conversations when we had that type of approach. And I know we've called for that several times in the past. They haven't happened. Hopefully they start to happen, because I do think it really will help open up the communication lines and hopefully get answers quicker and more directly too in some of the more private or more meetings with the council and the superintendent and perhaps one or two of his top staff. They were very productive when we used to do them with former superintendents. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Quirk, yes, Councilman Cat.
Yes, following the two councilmen, I hope that when we meet with the superintendent and his staff, we're not going to hear generalizations. We're not going to hear that this is how they approach this particular issue. I want to hear facts. I want to hear, we all want to know what the process that they're using, how effective it's been. And let's not forget the problem of discipline on the buses as well, because certainly if there's discipline problems, you're going to have a problem hiring a bus driver. So, we're looking for facts, statistics. We're not really interested, at least I'm not, in hearing this approach and that approach. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Cat. Any additional questions or comments on the matter? Okay, is there a motion to approve fiscal matters 1 through 7?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, I was muted. May I say something?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I concur with my colleagues that have spoken on this before, both Mr. Catch, Mr. Quirk, and I just wanted to chime in that I think that we are more interested in solutions than we are making planning, hearing about various things that are being tried, and being more proactive in how BCPS is using the massive amount of funding that we allocate every year. So I couldn't reiterate more what my colleagues are saying. Now I know that this is the second attempt at getting this budget allocation transfer approved by council, and it was the revised version was sent to us with some language in it that said that they had removed some of the items that were found objectionable to the council. Do we have someone from BPS that could sort of help delineate what those objections were and what was removed from this particular request?
Well, I don't know if Mr. Cantliff is on the line or not, but we certainly heard the council's concerns about use of dollars from transportation and from special education dollars. So the path that that's before you right now does not have any changes to those in those areas. The only thing the bat that's in front of you today does is correct any categories where we have overages from other categories where we have some savings.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilman Crandall. Any additional questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman, can I add one more thing?
Absolutely.
And Mr. Bazemore did provide us with an excellent update of activities next month. And many of those are recruiting fairs for school bus drivers. So it would be an excellent opportunity, let's say in about a week or two, for someone from the school system to tell us how those recruitment opportunities are going. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Any additional questions or comments? Again, is there a motion?
Chair?
Yes.
Um,
Rogers?
Yes, sir. Just wanted to say we are also working with our colleagues in terms of helping them to mirror how we do our retired retirees, being able to use that same model for retired bus drivers who can come back as well, because somewhere along the line that process changed for the school system, and it made it more difficult for them to recruit retired bus drivers who could come back. So I just wanted you to know that the school system colleagues, we're helping them on both aspects, on the fingerprinting and pre-employment physicals and things like that. But we did confer with our colleagues to let them know how we do retired retirees, which, Mr. Chair, I just sent you your list of our retired retirees. So they are working on that as well.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Rogers. Any additional questions or comments on fiscal matters 1 through 7? Is there a motion to approve fiscal matters 1 through 7?
So moved.
Second,
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on fiscal matters 1 through 7.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Quirk,
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins,
aye.
Mr. Marks,
Aye.
Mr. Patoka,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall,
Aye.
Mr. Catch.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Fiscal matters 1 through 7 is approved. We'll now consider all miscellaneous business. Mr. Secretary, first item, please.
Mr. Chairman, whenever a contract over $25,000 is awarded by a process other than formal competitive bid, it is required that a copy of the contract be given to the county council and the nature and parties to the contract be announced by the secretary at the next legislative session following award. There are 5 such contracts this evening. First is a master agreement with Savant Learning Systems doing business as Virtual Academy in the amount of $54,000. Next is a purchase order with Talx, TALX Corporation. This is an award total of $60,000. Next is a purchase order with Cobwebs America Incorporated, total award of $60,000. Next is a master agreement with Maryland Consumer Rights Coalition in the amount in a not specified amount, but the award total is specified as not to exceed county council approved appropriation. And finally, another purchase order with the Maryland Consumer Rights Coalition for tenant advocacy, additional award total of $61,457.
Any questions from the members? Hearing none, we'll move on to next item, Mr. Secretary.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. The next item is Resolution 26-22. This is a resolution requesting that the council adopt an amendment to the 10-year solid waste management plan to include the Eagle Transfer Station amendment.
Okay, I know there's been extensive question and testimony and discussions, and I understand that it is the will of everyone that we defer this, move it forward, and take it up another day and have more time to study. So I will make a motion to defer. Any questions or comments from the members, or is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so we have a second. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
I said, was there any questions or comments on the bill? We're going to make a motion to defer it.
Okay, that was my question. Defer. Have we already extended this once? Would this be a tabling or a deferment?
Well, this is a resolution, so it doesn't necessarily have the same life cycle as a bill. The resolution, by deferring it, we can bring it back anytime.
Okay, and we do have a motion and a second.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes, Councilwoman Benton?
Is there a time frame on the deferment?
No, again, we're deferring it so that we can bring it back anytime we like. We can bring it back next work session and vote on it the next month, or, whenever. This is a resolution.
Okay.
Well, Mr. Chairman, the lifetime of the bill would end with the election, correct?
Oh,
It's
For
not
Mr.
a,
Boswick, right?
I don't know. I don't believe that the election, Mr. Marks, has any specific bearing on whether the resolution continues or not.
Really? So that's interesting. So a resolution can continue indefinitely? I'm just curious. I always thought it was with the election or the term of office.
well,
A resolution does not have the same life as a bill. A bill has a 65-day life. A resolution, in a sense, has an indefinite life. If it is deferred, it can be brought back at just about any time that the council deems appropriate. I don't believe, and now if a sponsor of a resolution was defeated in an election, it's unlikely that measure, I guess, would ever be brought back as a practical matter, but I don't believe there is any specific prohibition on it.
Okay, thank you.
Now, if it's not brought back by the end of the year, then there may be a different story.
Okay, thank you.
But Mr.
all
Bos,
that said, we can introduce resolutions pretty much any time.
Right,
Yes.
I understand.
yeah, just a quick and easy question. So, obviously, the difference between just deferring it means we could bring it back up later. We don't have to. There's nothing to obligate us. There's no time duration as we're talking about now. And so just putting out the definition. If instead we were to table it, well, if we did that, the administration will always reintroduce it later at a different time. But it would just have to be introduced completely versus, brought back up from a deferral. But for all intents and purposes, it almost feels similar to me because it's a resolution. Now, if it was a bill, it's probably a lot different, but because it's a resolution, I guess the tabling would just mean complete reintroduction from scratch, where the deferral would be, well, maybe we take it up later, maybe we don't. Is that right?
That is correct. Deferral means you could bring this particular resolution, that is 26-22, back up. If the council tabled this measure, it would essentially, unless you brought it back within this meeting tonight, it could not be brought back thereafter. It would have to be reintroduced with another number.
Okay. There's a motion and a second on the floor for deferment. Any additional questions or comments? You did get a second, right, Chris?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Catch,
Aye.
Mr. Quirk,
No.
Mr. Crandall,
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins,
Aye.
Mr. Marks,
Aye.
Mr. Patoka.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Resolution 26-22 is deferred. Next item, Mr. Secretary.
Mr. Chair, may I ask the Secretary a quick question?
Absolutely. Great, Councilman Cash.
Mr. C, audit. Yeah, I'm sorry. Mr. Secretary, when is the audit due? Sometime in August?
I would defer to either Ms. Melkinson or someone from the administration on that, Mr. Catch.
I think I will add one thing that I think is important that we know what the audit will and will not do. This Deandra Walker, are you on the line? Because it is my understanding that the audit will simply go ahead, Deandra Walker. Ms. Walker, I'm not gonna steal your thunder. Go right ahead.
Good afternoon, council members. If we're referring to
Mhm.
the waste audit itself, the waste audit is separate and apart from this item in and of itself. The waste audit itself tells me strategically what's going into the landfill. If it's a lot of plastics, if it's food, what's actually going into the landfill, so I can strategically plan out how we are going to save the life of the landfill. So that's what the waste audit is. I don't expect to have the waste audit back for a few months.
There is some relevancy between the audit and this issue as well. So, at least in my mind. So, thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Ms. Rogers?
may I be recognized, sir?
Absolutely.
Ms. Walker, in our discussions in terms of the relevance to what's in the landfill now versus our need to transfer trash out of the landfill, how is the completion of the waste audit relevant to the transfer out?
It's not relevant to the transfer out, Madam Mayor. I need to transfer trash out in order to not take up that last few years of the landfill. Right now, the landfill is projected to fill up by 2027, and I'm looking for alternatives to transfer trash out and not put it into the ground.
So
Does that answer your question?
In other words, the audit does not impact our need to have alternatives to transfer out. The audit does not impact that.
No, ma'am.
I think the audit will give us an opportunity to gauge exactly how much space, how long it's going to, how long this is going to last as a landfill. I think it's going to help the county to develop a strategy in regard to how much trash we need to send away
So
and how much we can handle. I just think it's relevant, and we're going to see it, what, in 2 months, you said?
in a few months, but I just want to stress the fact, because when I bring it back, I just want to stress the fact that we know for sure, because we've done a review, we know for sure that the landfill is projected to fill by 2027. So that audit's not going to tell us that it's not going to fill by 2027. Yes, sir.
Well, okay.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Councilman Marks?
Yeah, thank you. And I do think, Director Walker does raise an excellent point. The Eastern Sanitary Landfill is currently in the 6th district, but would be in the 5th district after December. The only thing I would point out, I pointed this out during the work session, is that if you did vertical expansion, the life of the landfill would increase by at least 11 years. So there are some options here, and I look forward, as I think all of you do, to receiving the results of that audit. Thank you.
Okay. Any more questions or comments? The secretary, next item, please.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. The next item is the appointment, the county executive's appointment to the Baltimore County Ethics Commission or his nomination of Mr. Lawrence Ruth for confirmation by the council.
Okay, we certainly had Mr. Ruth here during the work session. Is he here again tonight?
I do not see him on the panelist list, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. No problem. He certainly spoke with us, and we thanked him for his service, his continued service. So on this note, is there a motion to approve the appointment?
I'll move it.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll on the appointment.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Catch,
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins,
Aye.
Mr. Marks,
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Quirk,
Aye.
Mr. Patoka,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall.
Aye.
Ayes
I was
have it.
muted. You got me, right, Tom?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
The
I
ayes
think
have it.
Councilman Catch voted for you, Councilman Marks.
I was wondering that. Thank you.
Oh, well, he.
You can only vote once, Wade.
I have his proxy, so now I can vote for
In
it.
off. The ayes have it. Mr. Lawrence Ruth is appointment being confirmed to the Ethics Commission. We certainly, as always, appreciate his service. Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Next, Mr. Chairman, is the county executive's nomination of Miss Laura Ray to the Baltimore County Ethics Commission for consideration of confirmation by the council. Miss Ray was unable to be at the work session, and tonight, I believe, due to a previously scheduled vacation.
For her.
Okay. No problem. As always, we thank her for her service and her commitment and willingness to serve. Is there a motion to approve Ms. Ray?
I'll move it.
Second.
I'll second.
The move and seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Chair, if I may add.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir. I just want to recognize Ms. Ray for just a significant amount of community hours that she's dedicated to Southeast Baltimore County. I think she comes very qualified and is a very respected individual in our community, and I'm proud that she is willing to step up and serve Baltimore County. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
More than welcome. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll move.
I take mine, and Todd can do it because I didn't realize she was in Todd's district. Todd, you can go ahead and motion her in.
All right, do you know her?
Just vague them.
Councilwoman?
I-
Okay. Well, you can have the honor of seconding.
Okay.
And a motion in a second. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall, Mr. Patoka,
Aye.
Mr. Catch,
Aye.
Mr. Quirk,
Aye.
Mr. Marks.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Ms. Laura Ray is confirmed. And as always, we thank her for her willingness to serve. The Secretary, next item, please.
Next, Mr. Chairman, is the county executive's nominations for appointment to the Baltimore County Property Tax Assessment Appeal Board. Part of the process is for the council to approve these nominations, and then the three names are submitted to the governor to be appointed to this board. The three names are Mr. William Chase, Mr. Raymond Shimmier, and Ms. Aram Abbasi.
Okay, as always, they were here during the work session. However, I know we have at least one here this evening, and I'd like to give that one or two an opportunity to say a few words before we cast our vote. I thought I saw, who did I see? Who did I see?
Was Billy Chase here?
I thought he was. Maybe not if nobody's popping up. Maybe I got it wrong. Okay, well, on that note, again, they were here during the work session, and as always, we thank them for their service and willingness to serve. Is there a motion to approve the nomination?
I'll move it.
Second.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll in the nomination.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mrs. Bevins,
Aye.
Mr. Catch,
Aye.
Mr. Marks,
Aye.
Mr. Quirk,
Aye.
Mr. Patoka,
Aye.
Mr. Crandall.
Aye.
Ayes have it. The nominations are approved. Mr. Secretary, next item, please.
Next, Mr. Chairman, is Resolution 27-22. This resolution is sponsored by Councilwoman Bevins, and this resolution would authorize the continued review of a proposed plan unit development known as Ridgedale for introduction only this evening.
Okay, next item.
Next is Resolution
You
28-20.
wanted to add something, Councilwoman.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You good? You want to add anything, or we just keep going?
Who, me?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, it was just for introduction.
okay. Go ahead, Mr. Bosworth.
Yes, sir. Next is Resolution 28-22, sponsored by Councilman Marks. This resolution also authorizes the continued review of a proposed plan unit development known as the Residence at Southland Hills for introduction only this evening.
Okay.
Next is Resolution 29-22, sponsored by Councilman Catch. This is a resolution requesting that the Planning Board review the laws related to public electric vehicle charging stations and make recommendations for possible amendments to the county's zoning regulations for introduction only this evening.
Okay, next item.
Next is Resolution 30-22. This is a resolution that is submitted and introduced at the request of the administration and also sponsored by Councilman Patoka and Councilmen Marks and Catch to approve the grant funding to the Baltimore County Volunteer Fire Stations as part of American Rescue Plan Act funds of 2021 for introduction only this evening.
Okay, next item, please.
Next is Resolution 31-22, also at the request of the administration, entitled Department of Libraries, Authorization for Expenditure of Non-Local Funds, again for introduction only this evening.
Okay, is there any further business to come before the council?
There is no further business, Mr. Chairman.
Is a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll move it.
Second.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. The meeting is adjourned. As is customary, anyone who signed up to speak prior to the meeting will have 3 minutes to speak. And as I understand it, we have several speakers this afternoon or this evening. Ms. Belcastro, our first speaker, please.
Certainly, Mr. Chair. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Our first speaker this evening is Linda Dorsey Walker. Are you there?
Yes, good evening. Thank you. My name is Linda Dorsey Walker, and I'm the chair of the For More for Baltimore County Ballot Issue Committee. We're trying to expand the county council from its current 7 members and 7 districts up to 11 election districts. We're doing this because the last time a major change was done in terms of districts and the size of districts and so forth was in 1955, when the population of Baltimore County was a whole lot less than it is today. It was approximately 355,000 then. Now it's 860,000. So what we're doing is asking that the district sizes, which on average are about 123,000, be carved down to 78,000, a much more manageable number, so that more women, minorities, disabled folks, young adults, and people with diverse perspectives will be able to run for county council and at a more reasonable cost, I would add, and get elected. Now, I'm coming before you because the petition signers, and there have been thousands of them, that our steering committee members have reached. And by the way, my steering committee has 35 different organizations represented on it. And I will say that we've already gathered thousands and thousands of signatures. We've been endorsed by TABCO, the League of Women Voters, both chapters in NAACP, at least a dozen churches, and so many different entities, I can't even begin to name them. But they're all asking the same questions. Number one, what members have decided that this is a bad idea? Is my county council member one of the people? And please name them. Why would this be an issue that anyone would want to hide their perspective on? Why don't I know how they feel on 4 more? Number 2, they also want to know if they cast their vote, why would they want to cast their vote for anyone running for county executive who had opposed this? They also want to know, if we don't have the ability to capture all the names by August 1st for this proposal, which, by the way, has an implementation date of 2026, will we continue collecting signatures? And I can answer that one, you bet, because the law allows us to do so, and we would continue. So my question would be, given the fact that all of you know about this, or most of you do, everyone's talking about it, I would say that 97% of the people that we've asked directly to sign that petition have signed the petition. We just have not enough time for the period that the State Board of Elections allowed us. They confused us with a different group that was heard that same day that had already collected over half of its signatures, and they lumped us together and said they thought that it was enough time to collect the other 4,000 signatures they needed instead of starting from scratch, which we were in the middle of a COVID epidemic. My other thing that I want to add is we have worked hard to get our endorsements, and I'm going to ask that those of you who do have a differing position, please stop going behind us and asking our endorsers to take back their endorsements. That has actually happened among people who are on this call right now. And please stop personalizing it. Don't call me out at town meetings and other places. We need to get down to what the citizens want us to discuss. They want this to happen. They see this as a valuable tool for making it happen. And I'm going to ask, after all this time, would you please consider not 1 more, 0 more. One member said, I'm willing to consider it after the next redistricting, the next census. Then this was a member that's on this call that said this on
Walker, if you could please wrap up your comments every 3 minutes.
Okay, sure. I want you all to consider 4 more, not 1 more, 2 more, 3 more, 4 more, because in 2000, I came before this body, and so did the League of Women Voters, and we asked for 2 more when we had 110,000 fewer people and a whole lot less diverse county than we do now. Thank you for hearing me out, and I'm waiting to hear, and so is the public who I've invited to listen in, what your answers will be.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. You want to make a comment? Go ahead, Councilman Mark.
Yeah, well, I shared in the chat my opinion on the council expansion. 7 years ago, I wrote an editorial supporting the right of citizens to vote on an expansion to 9 members 7 years ago. And I made the point, I think back then, this has to be bipartisan. Now, I asked the chair of the Baltimore County Republican Central Committee if anyone from this group has reached out to them and spoken before them. She says no one has.
The answer is yes. The answer
Who
is
has,
yes.
let me finish. Who specific, well, send me an email and I'll pass it along to the chair of the Republican Party. Because anytime we pass charter changes in this county, it needs to be bipartisan. And I'm one of the most bipartisan members of this body. I'm not seeing bipartisanship. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Belcastro. Next speaker, please.
Certainly, Mr. Chair. Our next speaker is Thomas Ludwig. Mr. Ludwig, you may begin.
Good evening. I'm the president of the Baltimore County Volunteer Firefighters Association. I was just getting on here to ask y'all to support the resolution that the county administration and Izzy Batokas have submitted to you guys.
Okay, thank you very much. Next speaker, Ms. Belcastro.
Certainly, Mr. Chair. Our next speaker is Benita Tolson. One moment. Ms. Tolson?
Unmute. I'm sorry. Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good afternoon. Greetings. The Baltimore County NAACP supports the vote for Be More, vote for Be More, and expand the council members. We have joined forces and have started gathering signatures to support an additional member or additional members, minority members on the county council. So we ask that you relook, research, talk to the community to see exactly what they are pushing for. Right now, we're hearing in the community that we do want more members of minority on the county council, and we do want to expand. As Ms. Dorsey Walker have stated, go out into the community and see what the community is asking. It's over 52% of the women in the county, and we feel very confident that a lot of these women will sign up if you extend the qualifications as far as getting the signatures. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Tolson. Certainly appreciate your service with the NAACP. Next speaker, Ms. Belcastro.
Certainly, Mr. Chair. Our next speaker is Adam Reuter.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Good evening, Baltimore County Council. I hope everyone had a great Independence Day weekend. In recent weeks, the Food and Drug Administration approved COVID-19 vaccines for ages 6 months to 5 years old. The federal government also ordered an additional $3.2 billion worth of COVID-19 vaccines for the fall. The COVID-19 vaccinations, in my opinion, are not reasonable nor prudent to be given to children of this age. Other countries around the world, including the United Kingdom, are not recommending nor requiring COVID-19 vaccines for minors 18 years and old and younger. There is no legal liability for emergency use authorized products. So if someone is injured or killed by them, they're on their own for medical bills and funeral expenses. To my knowledge, the United States federal government have not paid out any COVID-19 vaccine related injuries through their injury compensation program. Pfizer, many years ago, paid a record amount of fines in September 2009 to the Department of Justice, $2.3 billion because of fraudulent marketing. Johnson & Johnson also paid a $2.2 billion fine to the Department of Justice. This, I believe that was in the year 2012. The state government's multi-million-dollar GoVax Maryland marketing campaign has not been 100% honest to the people of Maryland about the dangers that these experimental injections, which are still technically in phase 3 clinical trials. So some websites of note about vaccine injuries and fatalities: realnotrare.com, covidvaccineinjuries.com, and thecovidblog.com. And I want to wrap this up by saying every dose of mRNA-based vaccines, which are brand new to the market still, they've been within the last year and 7 months. Every time you give someone another dose or booster, whatever you want to call that, it is another chance that an adverse side effects happens. So as it stands, someone around my age, if we're using the same technology, by the time they reach the age of 80, they will have to inject themselves with 60 COVID-19 vaccination boosters. And right now, my relative, whose name I will keep private, is currently suffering with a COVID-19 vaccine injury. He's been unable to work for around a year. His employer mandated that he get this vaccine. And he's not really had much help in that regard. And I'll wrap one more thing. Adverse reactions include but are not limited to blood clots, strokes, heart inflammation, heart attacks, nervous system disorders like Bell's palsy and seizures, menstrual disorders, and as I've said already, even death in some unfortunate cases. So thank you. And I hope that in the future, you look into possibly banning COVID-19 vaccine mandates in Baltimore County, because there's a lot of people out there who are afraid to get them because they do not want to play Russian roulette with their bodies. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reuter. Next speaker, Ms. Bel Castro.
Certainly, Mr. Chair. Our next speaker is Sheldon Laskin. Mr. Laskin, you're on. Are you there, Mr. Laskin?
Okay, I was muted. I'm sorry.
That's okay, you're on.
My name is Sheldon Laskin. I am a member of the For More for Baltimore County Steering Committee, representative of the Baltimore County Progressive Democrats Clubs. First of all, I'd like to thank Councilman Marks for his support for expanding the council, his long-standing support for expanding the council. And I do want to relay a message from Linda Dorsey Walker. Republicans have in fact reached out to her in support of For More. She'll give you more details, but this followed upon a signature drive we had in Glendon, which largely resulted in signatures by people who identified themselves as Republican. But she'll give you more details on that. The only thing I would like to add is that I've heard from some sources that there's a desire to defer studying this issue for like up to 10 years. As Linda said, the earliest that this measure will be implemented, assuming it's on the ballot and passes in November, would be 2026, which is already 3 years from now. This has been a problem now for almost 70 years. And if the council feels that there's a need to study this issue, there's no reason not to do it right now to address a problem that's been festering for 70 years. There's no reason to wait a decade in order to study the issue. Do it now if you feel it's necessary. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much, Mr. Laskin. Next speaker, Ms. Bel Castro.
Certainly, Mr. Chair. Our next speaker is Michael Connolly. Mr. Connolly.
Good evening. Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
I am the Vice President of the Baltimore County Volunteer Firemen's Association, and I am here this evening seeking your support of Councilperson Patuka's resolution heard this evening regarding the release of American Rescue Plan dollars to our 29 volunteer companies in the county. We have experienced great losses from the COVID and during COVID and recovery from COVID. And the $1 million put forth by the county executive will be great relief to our 29 companies. These dollars, without question, will put rubber on the road to assist our citizens every hour of every day. And we thank you for your consideration of this important and urgent matter. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you very much. Ms. Bel Castro, next speaker, please.
Certainly, Mr. Chair. Our final speaker this evening is Jack Hayden. Mr. Hayden.
Okay.
Are you there, sir?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. So, obviously disappointed. Few remarks. I really didn't, just rushed them, got them done here. So kicking the can down the road is what has gotten the county into the serious disposal crisis that is quickly approaching in 2027. Why not allow the permitting of a small commercial waste transfer station that will likely take 2 to 3 more years to permit and open? The county is accepting limited commercial waste at Eastern Sanitary Landfill, which is wasting the little space that they have left. And the commercial waste will be the first one kicked out, just like it is now at all the transfer stations that the county allows the larger public companies to run. The Public Works Department, they don't.
Mr. Hayden, we lost you.
Somehow you muted.
Okay, sorry about that. The Public Works Department that understands the issues and accepted the recommendations made by consultants hired by previous county employees their recommendation. They took their recommendation. There currently is a major monopoly of the commercial waste disposal facilities, prices, and capacity. Why is the council deferring this issue? I would like to ask the question. No reason was given for this discussion about deferral. I didn't hear anyone. The waste compensation study has nothing to do with the landfill closing or the tonnage going into it. Merely what it's made up of. Studies are done and put on the shelf and forgotten. The solid waste work group and the solid waste work group study group was formed to look at the ways to stave off this coming crisis. Ignoring it is not going to make it go away. So I suggest that the issue be addressed sooner than later because it's like a train coming down the road. And I don't know why you're deferring it. You see how many people were on that committee? A completely diverse committee of professionals, people in the industry, consultants, public servants, citizens. That was their recommendation. We need more capacity in the marketplace. The city knows it, the county knows it. It should be addressed. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your consideration. And I hope you'll take it up at your next meeting.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hayden. Well, I would like to thank all our callers for calling in and thank the council for sticking in there. It was a long meeting or a long day. We had a couple of meetings before this meeting, but everybody enjoy yourself and we'll talk again soon. Everybody be safe. God bless.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.